Among the countless memorable scenes in the Hollywood film It's a Wonderful Life is when James Stewart's altruistic home builder, George Bailey, hands the keys for a brand new house to a family that, up to that moment, had been living on the economic margins of their community. But what film buffs need to remember is that it is not only George Bailey who's provided this struggling family with a secure home, but all of those in fictional Bedford Falls who, by way of their investment in George's saving and loan company, have helped to provide for those who would otherwise continue to endure hardship. James Stewart's George Bailey may be the brains and the backbone behind the home building project, but in truth, many others have partnered in elevating the lives of the less fortunate in fictional Bedford Falls. We are taught that it takes a village to raise a child, but as we continue to learn, it also takes a village to raise up an entire family, and not just one entire family. So what then does a James Stewart classic have to do with Torah? We need only examine this week's Torah text, Vayakel, meaning, and they assembled, within which our Israelite ancestors answered the call from God and Moses to help construct the tabernacle, the Mishkan, God's dwelling place among Israel in the wilderness. We read in Parshat Vayakel, everyone whose heart was raised and whose spirit moved came, bringing to God an offering for the work of the tabernacle. Men and women, all whose hearts moved them, all who would make an offering to God. So moved are the Israelites that just a few verses later, Moses is informed that the people are bringing more material than needed for the work. Moses thereupon announces, "Let none make any further contributions to the tabernacle." Their efforts had been more than enough for all the work to be done. The contemporary biblical scholar Robert Alter writes, in this impulse of generosity, one may detect a response to the earlier golden calf episode, in which the people were quick to offer their gold for constructing something idolatrous. Now, however, the Israelites outdo themselves in their donations for God's sanctuary in the wilderness. My rabbinical school classmate, Rabbi Marshall Clavin, he points out that Moses stopped the Israelites giving to the Mishkan in order to redirect their hearts from places to people, from institutions to individuals, because there is more than one way to create space for the divine to dwell. In addition to a physical space, when we give of ourselves to another person, we ultimately open up a space for the divine to reside within us and within others. Perhaps, Rabbi Clavin adds, that is why God says, "Make me a sanctuary so I will dwell in them, not in it." And according to Ellen Frankel, in her ingenious interpretation of Torah from a feminine perspective, the rabbis say all this gold, silver, linen, fabric, and wood the Israelites carried with them out of Egypt. And the daughters ask, but how willingly do they part with these treasures? The rabbis boast, so generous are the people that the artists begged Moses to to call an end to the giving. And the mothers muse, when was the last time our hearts moved us to give like that? I will never forget my first up-close experience with the plight of those who lack secure homes, as I accompanied my son Max for his bar mitzvah project with Holy Blossom Temple on a winter's nighttime ride with the van operated by the Native Men's Residence, Toronto's First Nations organization that undertakes an active response to the homelessness. Through the downtown neighborhoods of our city, into parks, beneath underpasses, and on the streets, distributing nutritious meals, clean clothing, and toiletries to those who were descended by way of an array of circumstances to the lower levels of economic sustainability. That is, to the point of being all but entirely dependent on the kindness of others. As I speak these words, there are within our city and everywhere those without homes, without roofs, without regular nutrition, without safety, security, nor stability in their lives, and most despairing of all, without hope. We cannot transform all of their conditions in one day or night, but we can begin to make a difference. We can undertake to give of ourselves, each of us in our own way, to the betterment of their situation. And that is why tomorrow night, Saturday, February 26th at 7 p.m., I will gather with members of our community, including Holy Blossom's neighboring synagogue, Beth Tzedek, at the Loblaws grocery store on St. Clair Avenue and Bathurst Street for an event known as the coldest night of the year, in support of Vahavta, meaning and you shall love, an organization devoted to a Jewish response to homelessness. We will engage in Havdalah, our ceremonial leave-taking of Shabbat, listen to a speaker from Vahavta, and see its van in operation before undertaking a walk together north on Bathurst Street. The event is a fundraiser for Vahavta, and additional information for which may be found on its website. And as I've just remarked, I will be there, and I hope you will too. The Midrash tells us that King David, our King David, complained to God, "Why did you create inequality? Why did you make some poor and some rich, some wise and some dull, some joyful and some sad?" And God replied, "But who then will guard kindness and truth?" Meaning then, if everyone had all that she or he needs, then how would kindness fit in? Rather, God made an unbalanced world so that the rich would aid the poor, the wise could teach the unlearned, the joyful could cheer the sad, and in this way all could merit to enter eternal life. To which the Lubavitcher Rabbi said, when you meditate on this, that a fellow human being has only to suffer so that your soul should have the opportunity to help her or him out. Then you give, and you give, and the giving crushes your heart and humbles you even more. So let us not wait until encountering those who are suffering. Let us not wait until crossing paths with someone on the street, in a park, or on the highway off-ramp. Let us not wait to be asked. Let us do what we must now. Let us respond to what our Jewish tradition teaches us, that there will always be poor and weak among us. Because in making space for the divine, and because, after all, it takes a village, let us not overlook making space for everyone with whom we share membership in the human community. Can you hear that song? May it be God's will.
Shkoch.